Hey guys, Jason with CV Customs. Now, I just finished the job that I'm gonna show you in the video. Basically, I'm doing a second intro for a very important reason, so sorry I'm not the best with editing. So in a second, you're still gonna hear me say, hey guys, Jason with CV Customs, what's going on? But it's important to know that this upgrade is not legal in certain states. So if you're doing it for whatever vehicle you're doing it for, just make sure it's legal in your state. Yeah, that's my little disclaimer. So now you're going to hear me say, hey guys, Jason with CV Customs. Hey guys, Jason with CV Customs. So we're back on our 96 Dodge with the 12 valve. This is our next step. On the last video, we did our compression check because we didn't want to throw a bunch of money on the engine without knowing the engine was sound and making sure we didn't have any further to go on it. So what we're going to do now is put the plate in the fuel pump. It's a P pump. The plate we're going to put in, it's a cam plate, is the BD Power Cam Plate Kit. Long story short, what it does is it allows the injection pump to give the engine more fuel. Now, the instruction book is pretty thick on this thing, but I assure you, this project's really not that bad. You just there's a couple important things you got to do, and as long as you do those things, the job's not hard. So let's jump over to the truck and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, before we jump on the truck, this is what the kit comes with. One of the screws is a tamper-proof screw that we're going to be removing. So they give you a screw to replace it. This is just a new hose clamp for our wastegate hose. And this is a new fitting for our wastegate. It's an orifice fitting. What that's going to do is it's going to take more air pressure to open the wastegate, increasing your boost. So that's important. This is the actual plate we're going to be putting in, and this is the tool that you use to put it in. All this does is set this plate exactly where the old plate is, and I'll show you how that works when we get up there. So let's jump on the truck and I'll show you how that's going to go. All right, now we're up in the truck. This again is our P pump. Now we're also changing the intake and new valve cover gaskets and all that. So doing this while everything is opened up is a lot easier than doing it when all the fuel lines are on there, but you don't have to remove everything like I did to do this job. This makes it a lot easier to film and, you know, easier to do if you're doing all the project that we're doing at the moment. So as you can see here, see there's an extra washer on that bolt. It's already got a flathead screw there. There's only 4 bolts holding this down, but it looks like those two match that one. So the odds are pretty good that this plate has been changed with something, or this plate's been opened up and modified. We're going to find that out when we get inside there. So one of the key things to do is we're going to clean everything around the sealing area here. These injection pumps are very, very finicky. You do not want any debris to get inside this thing. So we're going to clean this very good. After we clean it, we're going to mark it just on the side here so that we can make sure, because this plate, there's a little bit of play. It can go this way, that way. We're going to make sure that this plate goes back onto the injection pump itself in the exact same spot that it was in. So we'll mark it here and maybe in here so that we have 90 degrees. So we make sure it's just right where it came off. So yeah, I'm going to get a scribe, get some brake parts cleaner, air hose. We're going to get this thing good and clean so we can go further here. Okay, so we got it cleaned up. Couple things here. I start by pulling the bolts on this side. And I do that because the shut-off solenoid here, this big dude, we're just going to throw it out of the way. And then we'll take these two off. Now, normally there'd be a tamper-proof screw in one of these holes. And you'd have to chisel it, basically turn it into a flathead so you can get it off, and then you replace it with something else, which is why they've got some goofy things going on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to remove this line here. It's just it's plastic, flex hose. So we're just going to remove it here. And then I'll set the camera up so you can see down inside as I take the last 2 bolts off and how we remove it so you see what we're looking at. So that'll be a little bit of our action shot. But let me get it prepped because I don't like to waste your guys' time just watching me turn a screw. Okay guys, sorry about the angle for a second, but I wanted to show you what it looks like when we get this dude off. When you get the solenoid out of the way, make sure you clean again. there is a little clip you're going to pull so you can pull the shutoff valve arm off and push it out of the way. It's just laying down here. That's out of the way. It's cleaned up again. We've scribed our lines. Now we're good to remove the last 2 screws. Like I said, this one's already been replaced, so none of this stuff's going to be too difficult. Sometimes you got to use an impact hammer to get these things loose. Do it lightly because you don't want to hurt anything. And this guy. Oh, and we also already removed the line off over here. See how everything starts moving? Okay. One of the keys to taking this off is don't force anything. Should just slide off. There is a little hook in there, so don't get forceful with it. Nice and easy. And remove it. Here you go. Pay close attention to this seal. You don't want it to fall out of its groove. I always just set it to the side, face up, so I don't lose it. Okay. So there's our old plate. All right, what we're gonna do is put the template on it and then lay our new one in. It's got a number on it, we can check. We'll see if it's modified. When we get it out, we'll take a better look at it, but you can see it's been tampered with. Not sure how close the camera gets in here, but these screws are scored up a little bit. Somebody must have really locked them down, so. All right, let me just grab the plate and I'll show you what we're gonna do. So here we go. Before we remove the old plate, we're gonna put our guide plate on. Now, it only goes on one way, if I remember correctly. So you may have to flip it 180 degrees if it doesn't just slide in. Yeah, see, look, it's slightly offset. So I've got it on 180 degrees out. So I'm gonna turn it around and it'll slide right in. Goodness, come on. Okay, well, apparently, if this is an aftermarket one, it's slightly different than factory. It's not liking this, but Mm-hmm. 24, 24, 2. I'm going to check on this plate. What we may have to do is trim a little bit on our guide because of the problem we're running into. We need this to set here to get this right. So, yeah, that's just where we're at. Let me run this number, see what we can come up with, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so after a little bit of frustration here, this plate just does not fit. This number checks out to a 180 horsepower plate. So what I'm thinking has happened is they didn't replace the plate. It's a factory plate. It's been pulled out, and I would bet you that when we pull it out, we're going to see some grinding on the stopping arm for the, you know, the arm that controls the fuel, whatever you want to call it. But in any case, this is just not coming off. So what we're going to do, because I know it's already been removed, I don't even know that if it's in a factory location. So the best I can do is I scribed all 4 corners so I can set it back on. Then what we're going to do, because the most important point is right here, is we're going to mic it out. And as long as these are the same, when we set it back in, it's going to be the same. This is not ideal, but this will work. So here we go. Oh, we're going to have to get the impact hammer. Okay. Well, let's grab that, dude. Get back to you guys. Okay. This is the impact hammer. Now, my little snap ring here doesn't hold it very well, so we want to be really careful not to drop this down inside, because then we're going to spend a lot of time trying to fish it out. So the way it works, just set it in place there and just tap it. Remember, we don't have to get real angry with it. Okay, that one came loose. Okay, so what this does is as you hit it, there's a spring that wants to start opening it, and it just takes all the weight off of it. Now be careful here, because you're going to be right up against your master cylinder reservoir here. Okay. All right. She's loose. Now again, I'm being really careful not to lose this. If you have a similar situation, do not drop it down in there. Get that out of the way. I recommend just one screw at a time. Again, being careful not to drop the washer. All that fun stuff. Okay. Go, second one. Then we remove the plate, and what do I see there? Let's see if we can get it up where you can see. It's all ground off. So this one's been heavily modified. That's how it was getting whatever it got. So, what are you gonna do? Okay. Let's get our new one, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, I want to show you what I did here. So this is the plate we took out that was all ground down, which honestly is going to increase the fuel anyways. This is the new plate. Now I mic'd right here versus right here, and they are exactly the same, so that's cool. Now the other thing is the corners, those are a lot more square, and these are a lot more rounded. So the nice thing is when I scribed it, I did a very square scribe, 90 degrees on all four. So that should make it to where we can get this thing almost exactly where it was. Again, we don't know that it was where it was factory. We just know that this one was pulled out, ground down, and put back in. So we're going to put this one back where that one that was already out was when we got into it. And it was running, so odds are pretty good. Now the next thing I want to show you is the difference. See if we can get those real close. And what they're doing, I would almost say that putting this new plate in is actually going to limit fuel to where this thing was running before we pulled it out. Just my guess, because I am not a pump expert, but I can turn them up when I need to. The only thing I see that might be a little different is this gap here may be a little lower. It's a little hard to see in the picture, but it actually looks like it's not any lower at all at that angle. You can kind of see. So yeah, we might actually be limiting a little bit of fuel. I don't know. Guess we'll see how it runs. Okay, just want to show you real quick. I know it's really hard to see. It's hard for me to get zoomed in here, but the scribe marks are very clear. And I can set that plate exactly where the other one was, just like that. And then we'll tighten. So I'll get the screws snugged in. We'll lock it down. Then it's just a reassembly. I'll kind of step you guys through that. But basically, that's the job. So let's get her done. Okay, guys, I got it snugged up. And it's real clear to me here that it's right where it was. Now to tighten it, I'm just going to use my... This is a snap-on. You don't have to use a snap-on. But the snap-on allows me to put a wrench on it. You saw how tight it was coming off. We want to make sure it doesn't move. That's all I'm going to do. Just a little eighth of a turn. You don't want to snap these things. They're not very big screws. So there you go. It's off. Last thing we got to do now, because we've got the surface all cleaned. That's ready. we're going to reset the housing. And again, you see the hook. Be very careful. It does not take force. You're just going to kind of wiggle it down on there. And it's on. Now, again, remember, we scribed this thing too, because you can see there's play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the screws on this side, and then we'll jump back over to this side once we have this thing not moving where we want it. So. Oh, there we go. Getting all goofy on me. Okay, and I'm just using the same screws because I don't exactly know why they use different screws. I don't know if something was fouled up during their little upgrade. So because I don't know that, I'm going to use the screws that came out of each hole and the hole it came out of, and then we don't have to worry about problems because, again, it was running fine. Also, that O-ring that I showed you right before we put it together, make sure that O-ring's in place. Alright, now with it snug, we're going to get the light. We're going to check this scribe we got right here. Again, we want it exactly where it was. So grab that light. Okay, right there, it's dead on. Snug those two down just a little bit more. I can't completely tighten them because you never completely tighten the bolts when you've got more to put on. So, anyways, guys, that's it. I'm going to grab the shutoff solenoid, throw it back on, 2 more bolts, and pin it. All right, all buttoned up. Shutoff's back on. We went ahead and plugged the shutoff solenoid back in as well. Line's back on and all 4 screws are torqued down. So really it's not that difficult. Yeah, so on our next video, guys, we are going to go ahead and put in our twin ram and throw our injectors in, because before we change the turbo and exhaust manifold, I want to run the engine again, and there's a reason for that. I want to get the block hot, and that helps me to keep from breaking exhaust manifold bolts. I'll explain that in that video when we get there. But the first thing we're going to do is this twin ram, because we need that on before we can put the injection lines back across for the injectors. So that's what we'll be doing. If you like the videos, hit like, subscribe, check me out. I'm always doing something fun.